Welcome back, everybody. This is July 2nd of 2019, and this is episode 7 of What Is On My Desk. So today I got a bit of a mixed bag of stuff for you. I've got, I finished those 4 German kits that I've been working on, so we'll go back and we'll see sort of the finish up video I did of those, going over the ending of them all, what they look like, how they turned out, what I liked, what I didn't like. So we'll jump back, we'll go through those, and then I started some new kits. You'll see there isn't much progress, but I started. So we'll also see sort of my intro to those 4 kits and what my plans are for them. And then we will see 2 items I got. Actually more than that, 2 new models I got, 2 special items I received. And then we'll jump over and we'll take a quick look at my current progress on the new kits that I've started. So stay tuned. This will be an interesting video. Like I said, a bit of a mixed bag, but I think you guys will enjoy it. So here we go. And as always, my name is Sean, and this is Sean's Aviation. Okay, so before we swing over to the desk and take a look at the current progress, well, I guess I'll jump back and you'll see the other videos, and then I'll swing over. But before I swing the camera over to start today's update video, I'm going to show you the two items that I got. So this was one of the mechanics at work. He's been in the business for years. I don't even want to guess how many. It's at least 30 that he's been in the aviation maintenance business here in Ottawa. So he's collected stuff over the years. And I'm an avid collector of stuff, as I'm sure you've gathered. I like those odds and ends and aviation bits and stuff that I can put on display. So these were 2 pretty cool items that I got. I haven't been able to figure out where they came from. So let's show you what I got here. Oh, they're not light. So they are, oh my god, these are heavy. Propeller blade bookends. So they're actual propeller blades off of planes, and then they've chopped the ends off, capped them, kind of smoothed them all out, made them look pretty, painted them up. They were both, I'm assuming these were made out of non-airworthy props by Hope Aero, which is I believe it's Canadian. I'll double check that right now. I'll post the answer on the screen here when I'm saying this. Pretty sure it's a Canadian propeller overhaul company. So, yeah, they are not light. They weigh, this is just a fraction of the blade, and they weigh a ton, so it really gives you a perspective how much a blade really weighs, and why they can do so much damage to people. There is a part number on the bottom, and I've looked the part number up, and I know they're Dowdy props. Dowdy is an English propeller company that was recently bought by GE Aviation in the US. I don't know what they're off of. I've taken a look online. I found that part number available. A number of parts sellers have it listed as in stock, but I can't find a listing as to what aircraft they were on. Currently, Dowdy makes the larger, 6 8-bladed props, which you see on the Dash 8 Q400, the C-130Js, the 6-bladed props on the E2 Hawkeye and the C2 Greyhound, the Antonov, I believe it's the 132, the upgraded cargo plane that they fly and Antonov made, uses them. So you see them a lot on the bigger aircraft. I don't think these are off of a bigger aircraft. I think these are an older propeller that Dowdy may have made before, or something off of like a, I don't know, a BAE, what's the name of that cargo plane? One of the older turboprop aircraft, one of the, I don't know, I have no idea. If anybody has any idea out there and they want to comment or post, by all means, let me know. I can't figure it out. Pretty cool. I don't know where I'm going to put them yet. They're large and they weigh a ton, but I'll find a use for them. So those are pretty cool. So on that note, we're going to jump back. You're going to see the 4 German kits finished off. Then you're going to see the introduction to the 4 kits that I'm currently building. And then we're going to swing over to my desk and you will see where I stand on those 4 kits. And then we'll talk about the new kits I bought. So here we go. Back in time, the ending of those 4 German kits. So here we are, June 20, I don't know what day it is right now, June 22nd, Saturday, June 22nd. And I can officially say that I have finished those 4 German aircraft. So we're going to take a bit of time now and I'm going to go through and show you what the finished product of these kits look like. As well, in the future, at some point, I'm going to have the time lapse of all 4 of these builds. So keep your eye out on the when it's created. There'll be a time lapse build playlist, and you'll be able to see these 4 kits in the time lapse build sequence. So as always, I'll start with the Focke-Wulf 190A8, and so as you can see here, it is in a completed state. It went together quite well. It's a Tamiya, so I'm very happy with how it all went together. I used the Eagle Strike decals, and they settled in quite nicely. So with the two-tone gray with the light blue bottom, and then the green overspraying, and then Eagle Strike decals, and then all the weathering and the flat coat and whatnot, it went together fairly well. I'm very happy with the Eagle Strike decals. Great detail, settled in very nicely. Like I said, even comes all the drop tank decals there, so you can see the finished product. The antennas are all installed. So yeah, very happy with this. If you watch the tips and tricks video on antennas, you'll see me installing this. This was the first time I ever used the easy wire, elastic easy wire for the antenna. Went on very easily. Very happy with how that went together. So yeah, that is the Focke-Wulf 190A8. As I said, very easy to assemble. No real issues with fit on this particular kit. There's a bit of, I shouldn't say that, there was a bit of issue with the cowling around here, but when it's all built up, it gets hidden pretty well. There's enough going on around the cowling area that you don't notice the few gaps that were formed with the installation. But yeah, very happy with the final product, and there you have it, my Focke-Wulf 190A8. So next one up was the Dora 9. So here we have the Dora 9 in the green and brown scheme. You remember, again, following through this build, if you watch the time lapse, I used a paper mask to paint the splotches, and that went on fairly easily. Very happy with how that turned out. Again, fit was relatively okay. I did have a bit, again, if you go back and watch the don't know if I have it in the monthly update video, but I have it in the group, in the time-lapse build, or if you check, I believe I mentioned it in my tips and tricks videos about filling and sanding. There's a little bit of a gap in the wing roots, and I just filled them with strip styrene, bit of putty and sanding, and it got hidden away fairly well. So yeah, again, easy wire for the antenna, so that went on nice and easy. The decals were the super scale decals, and they settled in very nicely, applied nice and easy. And again, a bit of weathering on this, dirtied up a little bit. This one in the A8, I made you know, some heavy weathering. Looks like it served, you know, served at the front for a bit of time. Okay, Samantha, just wait a second. I'm making a video. Sorry about that. So yes, as you can see, I've weathered them. I did this in the A8, weathered pretty heavily, make it look like it, you know, put some service into in the front lines, as they the schemes they were would have shown a late war scheme. So the aircraft, you know, served for a few years at the front before it looked like this. Sorry about that. So as I was saying, the aircraft, I left the aircraft weathered, as if it served for a few years. Both the A8 and the Dora 9, the schemes it was a late war scheme, so they would have been in service for a few years kind of before this point. So you want to dirty them up a little bit, so there's pre-shading, some heavy weathering, you know, whatnot, to make it look a little dirty, exhaust stains and everything else. So as you can see there on the bottom, lots of great detail in the Tamiya kit. No real significant issues other than those gaps on the tops of the wings. The only real issue, if I have any, you'll see it on the next one, the TA-152. With the Dora 9, in reality, you should be able to look in here through the wheel well and see the engine. The Dora 9, the late war ones with the inline engine, you could hole in the wheel well, and it was just a weird design where that's how it was in reality, and for whatever reason Tamiya copied over the wings and whatnot from the A8 kit and left those closed in. Minor detail. If you buy some of the aftermarket kits, that come out with for the engine compartment. It gives you that that opening. So I mean, if you're looking for realism, it is a little off, but you know, for all intents and purposes and for what my plans are with it, I can live with that inaccuracy. So other than that, great kit on the Tamiya kit, and as you can see, it came out very nice. So next up, we've got the TA152, and this is the Italeri kit based off of the old Dragon kit. So it went together quite well. Again, green and brown paint scheme, and I did again use a paper mask for the splotches across the side. Same super scale sheet as the Dora 9. It had both Dora 9 and TA152 decal schemes on it. So this particular one has the red rudder, the red lower cowlings, and the yellow fuselage bands and numbers. If you remember, if you've watched any of my build log on this, or I think I mentioned it in one of my monthly updates, this being the old Dragon kit, it came with a full engine compartment and engine detail, but didn't mention it in the Italeri decals. So I printed off the instructions off of line for the Dragon kit, and I went ahead and I built it with the cowlings open. So you get a lot of detail, and again, this is where you can kind of see. I'll zoom in here a little bit. I'm doing this one-handed right now as I'm currently holding my older daughter on my knee. But if you see on the bottom, you can actually see how you can see through the wheel well and see the back of the engine. So that's how the Dora 9 should be. So it's just a minor inaccuracy in the Tamiya kit, but they got it right on this Italeri / Dragon build. The only thing I had wished I had figured out before I did this, because the instructions didn't show it, and I really didn't do my research, the cowlings hinged in 2 spots. So there's a second hinge line right here, and so the cowling should be like a gull look, where you actually have a, it actually has sort of, you know, if this is the fuselage, I currently have it with the cowlings fitting like this, where in reality they should be like this, and then a second hinge line like that, and that allowed it to clear the cannon, as the cannon's kind of sat somewhere in here. So you can kind of see on here how I have the doors stopped where they are because they're going to run into the cannons, whereas in reality that lower half of the cowling would open first, and then as it was lifted up it would clear the cannon barrel. So I mean, I guess you could have had them built, opened up like this, where the lower cowlings were kept, closed, but in reality I guess it never would have really looked like that. But I was too late in the build to correct the issues, so it stayed like this. And again, full engine detail, full wheel well detail. Very happy with the detail on this kit. I didn't do as much weathering on this one. I didn't pre-shade this one as I did with the other two. This was just some post-shading. Because, late war, this would have been a relatively new airframe. So while it would have seen combat, it wouldn't have seen as much combat as, say, the Dora 9 or the A8. So a little less weathering on this. But all in all, very happy. Very happy with how the TA152 turned out. If you see the Italeri kit of the 152 on a shelf and you're thinking about getting it, I recommend it. For what you get in the box for the price point, it's a great kit. You cannot beat it. So keep your eye out for that if you're looking for a good 148 TA152 kit. Finally, my Tamiya HE162, the baby of the build. This is just a tiny little kit, but it's packed full of detail. Typical late Tamiya offering. Great fit, great detail, absolutely zero issues with the build. It's got as you can clearly see, it's got a full engine detail, and you can pose the engine. It comes with, I think I mentioned this during the build log, if you watch it, it comes with pins and whatnot, so the engine can be removed, and it comes with a full second engine that you can then install so that you have the option of the open or closed engine. And it even comes with an engine stand, so you can take that off, mount the closed engine, put the engine on the stand beside it. You have all these options, and you can change things up after you finish the build. So it's a great feature. The only issue is I've tried to install the finished engine and it doesn't quite fit right. Something's binding in there and I can't get it to seat right. I don't want to break it, so I'm just leaving it with the engine on. But I haven't glued anything, so I still could technically change things. Sorry about that. Just trying to keep my daughter occupied here. So yeah, easy build, lots of detail, no complaints whatsoever on this at all. Simple paint scheme in reality. Decals, I don't know if it was Tamiya or if it was just the way I had stored them or maybe the age. I don't know. I had a few of the decals shatter when I went to install them. So, you know, that's just a minor point. Again, I don't know if that was me or if that was Tamiya's decals. But all in all, not too bad. Lots of detail inside the landing gear bays. You know, the nose gear bay. Again, if you check out, I may have again, I can't remember what I mentioned in these what's on my desk updates, but if you look at it in the my build log, you will see, I've mentioned it, there's a weight in the fuselage. Included in the kit is a ball bearing, and it's designed to fit into the fuselage so that, I mean, even if you put the tail down, it sits on the tail, but when you put it on the nose gear, it sits on the nose gear. So it's perfectly balanced on the main gear. Just enough weight to keep the nose down without putting too much stress on the main landing gear. So great build, no complaints whatsoever. Highly recommend this kit. If you have any interest in getting an HE162, go buy this kit. Unbelievably highly recommended. So there we go. Those are the 4 kits that I have completed. And if you don't know how long it's going to be until I record it, but coming up next, we will see the next 4 kits that I start. So here we go. Coming up in a couple of seconds, the kits that I plan on building next. Okay, so we're back. Still June 22nd. I'm going to go through the 4 kits I'm going to build next, now that the German ones are complete. I'm not entirely sure if I'll get a chance to start them before I do my next What's on My Desk update. We'll see how things stand. So this is going to be a bit of a mixed bag. I'm basically building 4 kits completely unrelated to each other. Other than the fact that they're going to be built on display stands so I can fit stuff on my shelf a little bit better. So in no particular order, let's go through these. So first up, we've got the de Havilland Vampire. This is the Classic Airframes kit. Classic Airframes was a company out of the Czech Republic. Very, very detailed kits. As I'll show you, they're sort of a mixed bag. It was, I think, like a short run plastic kit, so you know the fit isn't quite as good as you'd expect in some of the other companies. The a lot of butt joints on the seams, whatnot, so it's not exactly as you would expect, but the detail is fairly good. They have a lot of resin in the cockpits out of the box, so it made for a relatively detailed cockpit and some of the details. It just takes a little bit of extra work. They're not easy to build. They're not a shake and bake kit. You know, as I would say, shake and bake kits are so easy. You can just shake the box and the model comes out complete. This one takes a bit of effort and work to do. So getting into it, as you can see, there isn't much in the kit. This is all you get. So you have, as I said, your model itself. The detail's a little soft, you know, like the nose gear, really soft plastic detailing. So the exterior surface is nice, some finely engraved panel lines and whatnot, but your interior detail and the smaller details are a little soft. Again, you'll see sort of the tail booms are complete butt joints. So not exactly what you would expect. Bags opened. I'll be doing this soon enough anyways, so I might as well just get it out of the way now. But yeah, like as I said, you can see the fuselage has some decent detail to it, some nice panel lines, but you can see on the inside, absolutely, look at the size of that ejector pin marking, like an ejector pin, just like a friggin' tree stump. So again, you know, as I said with the landing gear, pretty soft detailing on the landing gear, but as I said, I'll be building this gear up, so landing gear isn't really an issue. The bonus, as I said before, is you get this really nice resin kind of out of the box. It includes cockpit sidewalls, nose nose wheel bays, main wheel bays, the intakes, all that kind of stuff. The wheels comes as resin. So this is where your quality was. This is what made up for this mess, is you got this out of the box. So it made for a really decent looking model. And I'm not sure why. I'll find out, I guess, when I get to it. I have two different sized intakes, and it looks like I have a bigger and a smaller, and I'll have to do my research as to why I have two different sized intakes. That maybe there were later versions had a larger intake and the earlier versions had a smaller intake. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do some research into figuring out why I have two separate sized intakes. But there you go. So I get two intakes. So we'll see how well this goes together. I've built one other classic airframes kit, and it didn't end very well. I built their Supermarine Walrus, and I got about 3/4 of the way done, and the model just pissed me off. And some of the details, I said there's not a lot, the soft details are not very good mounting points, so the wing struts were just all whatever, and the kit ended up in a box, and I haven't touched it in about, I don't want to know, 15 years since I've touched it last. So we'll see how well this goes. We'll see. For the markings, I'm going with Canuck decals. The Vampire in the Canadian service for 441 Squadron, 442 Squadron, based out of the city of Vancouver. This one has the famous bat nose art on it, the whole nose painted up as a bat. This particular scheme is currently flown on a twin-seat Vampire based out of the Waterloo Warbirds in Waterloo, Ontario. So it's not quite accurate for that airframe, but still a cool scheme. So great that they're keeping it flying. The instructions, as you can see, comes with two separate kits and some beautiful decals, and there's enough decals there to do both airframes. You get two sets of stencils and everything, so you can do both airframes out of the one sheet. So unfortunately, Canuck decals have gone out of business, but for a year or two they were a great source of Canadian decals, and I was lucky enough to snag a bunch of their stuff before they went out of business. So classic airframes, Vampire. So looking forward to getting that done. Second up, Tamiya's Wildcat. I actually won this in a silent auction at the Capcom competition a few years ago. This is your typical Tamiya shake and bake kit. Everything's just going to kind of fall into place. No real effort is going to be expended in the construction of this kit. Now, the interesting thing is I had planned to build these with the landing gear retracted. However, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to build this with the gear extended and deal with it, as it doesn't really give me the option to build it with the landing gear retracted. It would take quite a bit of surgery to get the landing gear doors, which are here, kind of back in the right position in order to fit them into the closed position. So I might just build it with the gear down, put it on a stand anyways. It is what it is. But great detail, lots of fine rivet detail here on the wing. Detailed cockpit, detailed engines. Your wheel wells have all the necessary internals to make it look the way it should look with the landing gear. Gonna go kit decals on this one. I'm not entirely sure what scheme I'm going to go with. It includes 4 different schemes. An early one off of the USS Ranger with the red center and the red and white stripes, and then a later one off of the Marine Corps Squadron with the red spot removed, and there's another one off of the USS Santee from later in the war. All of these are the intermediate blue over white, and then there's a late war 3-tone scheme of dark blue, intermediate blue, and white. And as I said, I'm not entirely sure which one I'm going to build. I might just go with the early scheme. I have a couple of, I have 2 Corsairs in the late war all black, all dark blue scheme. I have an RAF Hellcat in all blue. I have the RAF Hellcat in the Atlantic scheme, and then I have a Corsair in this tri scheme. So I think I might actually go with an early scheme just to kind of have that well-rounded naval color scheme kind of line up, so you can see the entire, like, you know, breadth of what they used to have. So I'm pretty sure I'll go with the early scheme, just to shake things up a little bit. But again, time will tell. So a nice, easy shake and bake kit. That one should not be too much of a problem for me to build. That would be the scheme that I build if I go with my plan. So we'll see how it pans out. But yeah, looking forward to that. Next up, Academy's MiG-21. This is one of those kits. You get quite a bit for what you pay for. You also get what you pay for. The detail can be soft. The instrument panel is pretty basic. The cockpits are pretty basic. You get decent rivet detail on the exterior of the airframe. You get some weapons and whatnot. The wheel bays are pretty, cookie cutter generic. Not exactly the best. But I didn't pay very much for this kit to begin with, so, you get what you pay for. This one will be done up in Polish markings. This is a company called Model Maker. It's like a Polish garage kit type thing. Everything's in Polish. I'll have to do some well, luckily my wife's Polish, so I can get her to kind of tell me, read it off. But it looks like one of them's bare metal and one of them might be an aluminum lacquer. So don't know exactly which one I'll do yet, but at least I have. What it gives me is it gives me Polish markings, enough for, I believe, 2 aircraft possibly, and then I get 2 different types of numbers. So there's an early style and a later style. So I can then end up doing 2 different versions. I got to figure out what I want to do. I'll probably do something cool with the numbers. Maybe mix up for like my children's birthdays or something, like a 2915 or something. Include the birthdays for my 2 daughters. Don't know yet. I'll figure that out later, but at least it will be a Polish MiG-21 to go along with a few of my other Polish aircraft. I do have quite a few Polish models. Again, my wife being Polish, I figured I'd do up a good collection of Polish models. Right now I have the MiG-29 and the F-16. Here's the MiG-21. I got a couple of other things. I got a MiG-19. I got some World War II aircraft, some fighters and whatnot. So building up a good little Polish Air Force. And last but not least, I have a Sea Hurricane, the Italeri Sea Hurricane. I got this off of Sprue Brothers one year on their deal of the day. It was like, I forget now, it was something ridiculously cheap. This I will also be building out of the box. I'll be using the kit decals on it. Pretty sure I'm going to go with, surprise of surprises, the Canadian scheme. There's a Canadian version operated off of 800 Naval Air Squadron during Operation Pedestal. Not entirely sure what Pedestal was. I'll have to look that up. August of 1942. August of 1942. What would have happened in August of 1942? Might have been Dieppe. Might have been the raid on Dieppe. I don't know. I have to research what Operation Pedestal was, but it's Canadian. I'll probably end up doing that one. So this is a later version of Italeri. Their newer tooled kit. Tons and tons of detail on this. Lots and lots of fine engraved panel lines. Detailing on the wing. I don't know if you can make that out. There's a beautiful little oil cap here on the oil tank. The wings have, the bottom of the wings have lots of detail. Comes with a full Merlin. I mean, look at the detail on that Merlin. Great detailing on that. So I'm very impressed with the quality of this kit. So the only, if my memory serves me correct, I'm not going to be building the engine. I'm going to have the cowlings closed up. So I'll save that engine for a little later. That does good. It gives me the option to have the landing gears closed. So I'm probably going to have it gear up. However, I'm probably going to put the tail hook down. So gear up, tail hook down on a stand. As I said, all 4 are going to be on a stand. So looking forward to this again. I haven't built a Hurricane model since I was probably in my early teens. I only ever built 1 Hurricane model in my entire life, so it'd be nice to get another one built, and I have another one in the stash for later. But yeah, so this will be the dark slate gray and dark sea gray over the sky. So very similar to the other naval schemes I have. So be fitting and kind of tie in with my other models. But again, it's going to be built on a stand, and all of these will be on a stand just so that I can fit them within the existing shelf space. So there we go. You've seen the next 4 kits we're going to build. So we'll move on, and this will now be actually in the future from here on out, so that we will see all of my current updates from whenever I record this in early July. So stay tuned, and you can see if I manage to get a start on those 4 kits. So here we go. Okay, here we are back on, I guess it's June 29th right now, and I'm just going to go through some of the 2 new kits that I purchased. Get those out of the way now, so as usual I can get them put away on my in my closet, in the shelf, get them out of the way, make some room here on the desk for my next projects. So I'll start off with the smaller of the 2, and this is the Hobbycraft Avia S199. During World War II, a bit of backstory on that. During World War II, just like what happened sort of with the Allies in the US and with the English companies, a lot of production got subcontracted to other companies. So for example, Supermarine had their aircraft built by a number of different companies. Vickers had a factory, and Westland had a factory. They built a few. So there's Hawker Hurricanes were built by Canada Car and Foundry. Catalinas were built by Vickers Canada. Mosquitoes were built by de Havilland Canada. Lancasters were built by Canada, what became Avro Canada, but at the time it was called Victory Aircraft. Grumman Avengers were built by General Motors. Vought Corsairs were built by Goodyear, the tire company built Vought Corsairs. So you had all these aircraft that the main factory could not produce them fast enough, so they got subcontracted. And the Germans were no different. So for example, the Me-108 was also built by Nord Aviation in France. And the Me-109 got built under license by Avia in Czechoslovakia and by Hispano in Spain. Sorry, my mind's a little fuzzy right now. So post-war, Hispano continued to build Me-109s as the Bouchon, and that's the 109 that has the Merlin engine that you would have seen, if you have seen it, in the Battle of Britain movie. I'll throw a picture up right now of a Bouchon. So it's an Me-109 with a Merlin engine, because post-war Hispano could not get the original Daimler-Benz engine. So similar to that, Avia was building Me-109s in Czechoslovakia, and after the war they were unable to get access to the Daimler-Benz engine. But Czechoslovakia, being on the other side of the Iron Curtain at the time, went in a different route. And that is that they ended up using the BMW engine, as well as the whole cowling and spinner and propeller off of an HE-111. So the Avia S99 is basically a straight 109, and the 199 has the HE-111 style forward cowling and propeller and propeller hub. So it's a very different looking aircraft, and as the markings show, Israel got a bunch. Early Israeli Air Force was a mix mash of anything they could get their hands on. 109s, Spitfires, P-51s, you know, whatever they were able to buy to get their fledgling Air Force off the ground, they purchased. So, for example, the box art here shows an Israeli Avia S199 flying against a Egyptian Spitfire, Egypt being an English ally at the time, but you also had Israeli flying Spitfires. So you could have had an Israeli Spitfire fighting a Egyptian Spitfire. And so it was just a really weird time where shifting alliances and such a post-war changes made for a very interesting you know, course of events in the Middle East. So this is the Hobbycraft kit. As far as I know, it is the only 148 199 ever produced. Hobbycraft came out with their own 109 kit, went through a bunch of different iterations of a 109, and then this particular version was produced. I don't know exactly what year this was produced in. Let's see. There's no date. Yeah, there's no date on the instructions. I'd have to look on ScaleMates again. I'll throw the date up on the screen right about now, telling you what date this particular kit came out. So this was eventually reboxed by Italeri, and that's the only other, but it's the same plastic as what you find here in the Hobbycraft kit. So this is your only game in town. And unfortunately it suffers from some standard Hobbycraft issues, which is just the fact that it's extremely poor detail. I mean, this is all you get in the kit, and I mean, it's not terrible in the sense that, you know, I'll zoom in here a little bit. If you look at the instrument panel, like, it's actually not that bad for, you know, the age of the kit. It's pretty detailed, but then you look at things like just, you know, what the it's very soft detailing all around. Like the landing gear, it's just kind of like blobs. There's no real detail in there at all. Surprisingly, the wheels, you know, the wheels look okay. So it's a hit and miss type kit. Some things look great, other things just look like absolute trash. So, you know, you take the good with the bad. Anyways, as I said, it's the only game in town for the Avia S199. And I think it just would look cool on my shelf to have. I got a 109E and then a 109G and then this Avia S199. You see the history, so there's a 109. Instructions really, again, it's pretty basic. It's only, you know, that's it. That's the build-up. There's not a lot going on. For some reason, the landing gear mounting is actually, it's duplicated. There's a section here that's supposed to show the landing gear angle, and there's a section here, and this one doesn't make any sense because it says the wheel is supposed to be 90 degrees here, but then it shows a 21 degree and then a 21 degree, and anyways, it just seems weird that it's duplicated in two different places. So anyways, I mean, it looks like it's because they're trying to tell you here that the wheel is supposed to be 21 degrees off of the landing gear, and then here the landing gear is supposed to be 21 degrees off of the fuselage. But anyways, just it's not very, it's confusing. It's not very clear what they're trying to tell you. So markings, there's markings for what I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different aircraft. Aircraft 112. There's a little logo here at the end of the 112. It's like a little backward 7. It's the Hebrew letter for D, apparently. I don't know Hebrew. I'm just going off what the instructions say. So it's like 112 D and then 120. And then on this side you get 107, 110. And then this one down here is a number. It's a white 4. So all of these are like a gray-green color. Whereas this guy here is a gray over, it says Israeli dark blue. So I don't know exactly what color that is, but it's a camo pattern and it's supposed to be from a training unit. So it's a little bit different. So there you go, the Avia S199 by Hobbycraft. So again, something I've been looking for one of these for a while. It's been on my like to grab list for a long time. You see these come up online sometimes and they're relatively expensive. This popped up the local hobby shop. I don't know if I mentioned before, if you're ever in the Ottawa area, look them up. It's Hobby Center on Royden Place. Great little hobby shop owned by Bill. Been going there for years. He's a friendly guy, and he buys a lot of used kits, you know, local collections and stuff, and then sells them. And this was a local collection that he purchased and has been reselling. So it's price was right. He's not out to you know, rip people off. He's out to make a buck. You know, he has loyal customers and he's going to make a bit of profit, but he's not going to go crazy and rip you off, type deal. So I got this at a very, very reasonable price, and it was something I was looking for, so I snagged it. On the same note is the other one I had. Again, it's an aircraft I've been meaning to buy for a while, as long as the price is right. And it is the Airfix 148 scale English Electric Lightning. Always love the look of this aircraft. These kits are relatively expensive. If you want to buy this one brand new, You're looking at like 70, 80 bucks Canadian. I picked this thing up for 30 bucks. Same thing, used at Hobby Center. Great selection of used kits with great prices. He's marked down his used kits significantly from what you buy at a brand new kit, but what you get inside is just exactly the same as what you get in a new kit. So this is the F2 F6 boxing. It's one of Airfix's newer kits, so it's got significantly better detail than their older kits. Not as good as some of the new ones, like the Defiant and all that kind of stuff. That one is just top of the line. So this is a sort of a mid-range kit. Again, I don't know what the date is. If I can't find it in here, again, I'll look it up on ScaleMates, and I will throw it up on the screen, the date that this kit came out. But great kit, interesting plane. There's beautiful surface detail, fine rivets, fine panel lines, lots and lots of little details. So I think this is going to build up to look like a really interesting kit. Always like the look of it with the stacked engines at the back. Always look cool. And then the way the swept wing looks, it's just a beautiful looking aircraft. Sort of the Delta wing with the cutout, so it's like a swept wing, but it's like a Delta wing. You know, it's just a really, really cool looking airplane. And then you got the version that has the fuel tanks over the wings, which I just think is a wicked looking design. So it's been on my list for a while. I don't know when I'll ever build it, but I got it. So as I said, F2, F6. You do get a couple of options in the kit right from the get-go. And so you have the option to have the speed brakes open or closed, which is always a nice option. You got some different parts here between the F2 and the F6. So some of the early F6s and F2s, and then one style of lower fuselage, and the late F6s have a different, and nose inserts and whatnot. And then you get differences between landing gear struts from different versions. So there's some minor differences between the model, the versions, and they've included those differences as options on this kit. So it's a bit of a nice, like, even to the point that you have, different colors painted on different sections and whatnot. So, one part was colored one color in one and one in the other unit. So it's kind of interesting. And then there's a significant, I think it was 7 different type of paint schemes. I got to look up the Humbrol colors. I don't exactly know what colors these are supposed to be because they don't tell me. They just give me Humbrol. Oh, look at that. They have a list. So this particular aircraft is dark green over silver. So that's a pretty cool looking scheme. Dark green over silver. This particular one, again, dark green over silver. This aircraft is all silver, which I'm kind of leaning towards the all silver one, personally. This particular one is dark green and dark sea gray over silver. See a common thread here with the silver belly. Now we're starting to get into the later schemes with these gray ones. And this is medium sea gray over, let's see here. Oh, it's actually a 3-tone gray. Top of the fuselage is dark sea gray. Bottom of the fuselage is RAF barley gray. And then the bottom of the wings is light aircraft gray. So it's a 3-tone gray. Same with that, same with that. And so yeah, those last 3 are all the same one. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to be doing. I'll probably be doing either the all silver one. I want to do an F6 to have the overwing fuel tanks. So I'm probably going to do the all silver just because I like the big old roundels on it. Or possibly the camel pattern. The thing with the camel pattern is it looks similar to like the Spitfires and whatnot from World War II, and I don't know if I want to paint up another plane in that same scheme. So this triple gray scheme kind of is nice, but it's just these tiny little roundels. I don't like those tiny low-vis roundels. I never have. So we'll have to see. Actually, this one's completely different. This one here is dark sea gray over medium sea gray. So this is one shade darker And this, I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't even thought this out. It's a kit. I haven't even gotten far to figure that out. I may even go aftermarket. Who knows? Look up and see what else they have out there. But anyways, English Electric Lightning. So those are the 2 new kits I've purchased. Yeah, I think that's the only things I purchased for kit wise since the last video. So there we go. New kits I've purchased. Let's jump ahead here to sometime in early July, and I'll show you the progress on the 4 kits I'm building now. Stay tuned. Okay, so not a lot of progress has been done. Things have been busy with family and work, and then I've been trying to get those 4 German kits done by the end of the month for the group build, so I spent a lot of time focused on that. So when that was finished, I kind of, I had to play cleanup a little bit. So I haven't gotten a lot done on these new 4 kits, but I have some. So the first one, the MiG-21, I cut out the forward cockpit halves. There's no real detail in here, but the inside of the cockpit should be painted. Russian cockpits are this weird kind of green color. It's hard to explain. It's just a really weird, bright, almost glowing green. So I also have the cockpit tub and the instrument panel. Both of these are the gray, green color with the details picked out in different colors. So I kind of picked that one cockpit color that needs to be painted, and I started with that so that I can at least get a coat of paint down and move on. They're only doing the one Russian aircraft, so it's going to have its own color. So I paint. There's a system I have. I'll paint that color, and then I can pick out details across all 4. And then I've also got the ejection seat. This is going to be more of a dark gray color. But there you go. There's 5 parts to this seat right now, and then there's a seat cushion that gets fitted after. I'll paint it separately and glue it in later. So it's done. As I said, I'll paint the cockpit color on that, and I'll paint all the cockpit base colors across the 4 models, whatever color they're supposed to be, and then I'll go through and detail all the kits at the same time. So the other one I got to start on is the Wildcat. So here's the Wildcat fuselage, so the cockpit sidewalls, and then the floor, and the rear bulkhead. So again, I'll pick out some of these details later with whatever colors they need. And then the instrument panel. The rudder pedals are a separate piece that got glued on, but there's your instrument panel, so all the base color green, and then I'll paint the instrument panel black and pick out the little details. And then you've got the rear sort of bulkheaded headrest, and then the seat will attach sort of, kind of fits in like that, but I'll paint them separately and glue them together later. And then the cockpit side panels. So this guy here is a solid piece, and this one here was 2 separate pieces. This little side piece gets glued on after in here, and I'll paint and then pick all the details out and dry brush, so it'll pop like you wouldn't believe when I'm done. But again, so that's all the parts from that plane that are the one color. All the MiG-21 cockpit parts are cut out and ready to go for that color. And then I've got the Vampire, which I haven't started yet, and the Hurricane, which I haven't started yet. But again, I'll go through and cut out all the cockpit parts, and then I'll pick a day and I'll just do a bunch of painting, get all the parts painted, and then I can come back and start doing cockpit details when I get to it. So that's pretty much all the progress I have on that. So there you guys have it. You've seen the quick update on, I don't know how quick it is actually, I haven't put the video together yet. I'm assuming it's about a half hour. We'll see when I'm done editing. Either way, you've seen the update of where we stand now at the beginning of July. So just a bit of quick housekeeping here. Just a heads up for kind of some stuff I have planned for the future. I have a few more tips and tricks videos coming out. I have one scheduled to come out middle of July. I can't remember. Let me check my list here. I have one coming out, filling and sanding, I believe, is the one that's due out in July. And I've got one for painting and masking the fuselage. I've got one for decaling. I have one for final airframe weathering. My Vampire model, as you saw in the intro there, has some resin cockpit pieces, so I will be doing a quick video on working with a resin so you can see how that works. It's a very finicky product, so you'll get to see that. So there are going to be quite a few more tips and tricks coming out. If I release one a month, that gets me through to close to the end of the year on those tips and tricks. I've got also the air show season starting up. My first air show's in a month this past weekend. So in about 4 weeks you'll start to see some more stuff coming out from air shows, some air show videos, air show reviews, some walk arounds from some of the aircraft, so you'll get to see some of that coming up. And then As well, I'll put the link at the bottom of in the comment section down there in the description. I started a Facebook page, so it's Sean's Aviation Facebook. I'll include the link so you guys can access that Facebook page. If anybody's interested, I'm keeping that, every couple of days. I've got an on this day in history, aviation. It's focused more on Canadian aviation and Ottawa aviation history, but there's a smattering of other stuff in there, whatever floats my boat. So there's quite a bit in there. Probably at least every other day of the year there's a post coming up. So if you're interested in that, go to my Facebook page, like it, subscribe to it, subscribe to this page if you're liking these videos, and then you can stay up to date on all that kind of stuff. I'm also going to be pushing some of the videos from here onto Facebook, so if you want to stay on Facebook, you can keep up to date more or less what's going on here on the YouTube channel. So that's about it for this month. So stay tuned. As I said, I have a new tips and tricks video coming up, and then next month you'll get a couple of airshow videos, hopefully, if I have time to put them together. So thank you all. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching, guys, and as always, if you are interested in any of the content you see, you can access my website at www.seans-aviation.com. You can see all the latest pictures of aircraft and museums and the build logs of all of my current models and past models on that site. And if you're interested in any of this content, please click the subscribe button here on YouTube to follow more. Thank you very much, and see you guys next time.